just this day one review. We are going to be solving multi-step equations. So I'm going to review the steps with you, and then like I said, we're going to practice some together just so you guys can get the hang of it. The only thing I don't like about this example up here, it tells you what to do, but it didn't really show the steps. So, couple things. Whenever you guys are solving equations, you always want to look to see if there are any parentheses. And if you don't see parentheses, then you don't have to worry about distributing. I think eventually on the next couple pages we'll have some with parentheses, and I will review distributive property with you. But what we're starting with here is we want to make sure if we see any like terms, we're going to put those together. And that means per side of the equal sign. Okay, so if you guys look at this example, that's where the equal sign is, where I just drew that line. You would want to look at the left side and you would want to ask yourself, are there any terms that I can put together? So like what two terms over here do you see that look like each other? So the 3x and you said negative 8x. So you have to pay attention to the sign that's in front of it. So like this 3 does not have a symbol in front, which means it's positive. This 8 has a minus sign in front of it, which means it's negative. So what we're going to do is we're going to put those two together. Now, if you don't know what a 3 with a negative 8 makes, your calculator can do all the work for you. You would just type in 3 minus 8. So whatever's in that circle, that's the only thing you type in. And if you type in 3 minus 8, you get negative 5, right? Okay, so that's where this negative 5x came from. And then, not only did the two x terms get combined, but we also have these two right here, the negative 7 plus 17. And if you don't know what negative 7 plus 17 is, again, type it into your calculator. At the bottom of your calculator, there is a button that looks like this. That is the button you have to use to type in negative 7. You cannot use the minus sign. So the minus sign that's down the right side of the calculator is not the same as this negative button. You can't use them the same way. So if you guys type in negative 7 plus 17, what does the calculator say? Should say 10. And if it just says 10 with no symbol, that's a plus 10. So that's where the plus 10 comes from. And then on the right side of your equation, they just brought that negative 5 down. Okay, so that was their first step. They combined like terms on the left because there was nothing on the right side other than that negative 5. So they just brought that down. So combine like terms. And then you have a two-step equation left. When you have a two-step equation, typically your two steps are going to be these. Step number 1, you are either going to be adding or subtracting. Oh no, all my markers are dried up. So you're either going to add or subtract whatever number, so like the constant. See this plus 10? I'm going to have to get rid of that. So if that says plus 10, how do you get rid of it? You subtract 10. So you're either going to add or subtract the constant. Okay, that should be the first thing that you do. And then typically the second thing that you do, it could be multiply or divide. 9 out of 10 times, it's going to be division. So typically you divide by the number that's in front of the letter. So this negative 5 will be the number that I divide by at the end. So what they have done is I'm going to just squeeze this in here. They subtracted 10 from both sides to get rid of the plus 10. Okay. Now, if you subtract 10 from the left side of an equation, you have to do the same thing on the right side. So this negative 5 minus 10, if you type it into the calculator, will give you a negative 15. So they brought down their negative 5x, brought down these two, and these two together make a negative 15. So now we're down to just this one-step equation. And if you have a number and a letter side by side, you divide to get rid of it. So side by side, divide. Okay, that means if these two are side by side, that means multiply. So in order to get rid of it, you would do division. The way we show division, fraction bar. You don't use the line with the two dots. Okay, we're going to just use the fraction bar, and you just divide by the number that's attached to the letter. So I'm going to divide by a -5. Yeah. Okay, so they wrote here that they subtracted 10. That was that step. And then the divided by -5 is what I just showed you there. By doing that, the x is now by itself, and then you guys just have to figure out what -15 divided by -5 is. Again, type it into your calculator. You know, obviously, as a math teacher, I would love it if I could ask every single person sitting in this room, hey guys, what's -15 divided by -5? And you all could say it's +3. But in algebra, it is way more important to me that you know these steps than you know like your multiplication and division facts. Like I would love it if you all knew them, but the way of the world now is we all use calculators for everything. So if you type it in, you should have gotten x equals +3. Okay, so that was their example. We're going to follow this example and just do like 4 more problems down here so you guys can kind of get the hang of it. So very first thing I want you guys to get comfortable with, I want you guys to, I always like to draw this line. So I always draw a line where the equal sign is, because when I say to you guys both sides, you have to know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the left side of the line and the right side of that line. Yeah, and if you guys have done this before, like if this is seriously just review and you're comfortable with it already, you don't necessarily have to draw that line, but if it's been a while for you, I would suggest drawing that line. Okay, if you look at this left side, which two terms are like each other? So the k terms. Okay, if you do not have a number in front of a letter, what number can I put there? This is a +1k and a -4k. So all you guys would have to do is type into your calculator 1 minus 4. Tell me what you get. -3, and just don't forget to put the k with it. What happens to the one that's out front? Just bring it down. And then the -2 on the right doesn't have anything to pair up with, so you also just bring down that -2. So step 1, we combined like terms. Step 2, we are going to add or subtract the constant that we need to move away from the letter. So when you look here, what number is the constant? Is it the 1 or the -3? It's the 1. How do you move a +1, or how do you get rid of a +1? So either negative or subtract, right? We're going to subtract 1 from this left side, and if I do that on the left, you got to do it on the right. So you're going to put a -1 under both sides. This -3k drops down. And then the equal sign would also come straight down. Now whatever's over here, you could just type that directly into the calculator. -2 minus 1. So this button and this button are not the same. This is the negative button that's at the bottom. So this, the one with the little parentheses around it. This is the minus sign. What's -2 minus 1? -3. Okay, so we just did the addition subtraction step. So then our last step is either multiply or divide. If these two are side by side, what are we doing? We're dividing. And what number are we dividing by? We are dividing by -3 because that's the number that is attached to k. And we need the k to be by itself, which now it is. What's anything divided by itself? 1. Okay. So k equals positive 1. I will say that most of the time when you guys do these equations, we try to give you guys problems where the answers will end up being whole number answers. They could be positive or negative. They might even be 0. I try to stay away from decimal answers, but decimals exist. So you are definitely allowed to get a decimal as an answer. How did I know it was you? You're the one that can never get doors open. I'm recording this, by the way, just so you know. No, it's not going to pick you up. I'm just saying it could hear everything.
Give me the roster.
Yeah, it's right there. You want first period too?
Yeah. Well, not yet.
Are you sure?
Yeah,
Because there were people not on there.
That's fine. Yeah.
Okay, this is algebra, and this is...
Are there people on this file on there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. First period, second period.
So they're already.
Gracias, senor. Bye, Jeff. Okay. Problem number 2. What do you guys think? Is there anything to combine on the left? No, so that 6 would stay. What can I combine on the right side? These two, the two constants. Okay, if it is just a number, it's called a constant. So -7 minus 1. So if you type that in, what are you guys getting? Now look, there are going to be people who say answers. They're not going to be typing stuff in for you into your calculator. So if you have a calculator, which you guys should, you need to be practicing this. Make sure if you type in -7 minus 1 that you get -8. All right. Combine like terms is done. The next step, go to the side that has the letter. So I'm looking at this side over here. Which number is the constant? The -8. So that's the one we need to move. How do we cancel out a -8 or a -8? Six plus 8? 14. And then I just brought down the equal sign, and I'm going to bring down this 7m. Because now the 8's are gone. So add or subtract step is done. The last step, 9 out of 10 times, it's going to be division. So since the 7 and the m are attached and they're side by side, that's the one you divide by. So we're going to divide by that positive 7. So that way m is now alone. And what's 14 divided by 7? 2. And if at the end, if you guys flip this around and you put m equals 2, it's the same thing. It doesn't matter. I just typically leave the letter where it's at. You guys feel okay with these so far? Sorry. Number 3. Which two terms on the left can be put together? 3n and a -5n. So 3 minus 5. Those two come together to make a -2n. And this -5 right here in the middle has nothing to pair up with, so just bring it down. And then I'm going to bring down this -3, so it doesn't have anything to pair up with either. Okay, so we've already combined our like terms. So then step 2, go to the side where the letter is, which is right here. Find the constant, which is the -5, and get rid of it. How do we get rid of it? We're going to add 5 to the left, and we're going to add 5 to the right. Okay, so I'm going to bring down -2n. I'm going to bring down the equal sign, and then what's negative 3 plus 5? It's positive 2. Yeah, you're okay. Yeah, there are more positives than negatives, so it's positive 2. And then last step, you guys keep your hands off of each other. I shouldn't have to say that. The last step is divide by the number in front of the letter. So we're dividing by negative 2, so that way the n is now by itself. Bring down the equal, and then 2 divided by negative 2 is negative 1. Okay, so real quick, I would like you guys just to try number 4, because we've now done like 4 problems together. We had the example I walked you through, and then we just did 1, 2, and 3 together. For problem number 4, just give it a try. You know, start with combining your like terms. Everything on the left side is positive, so it tends to be a little bit easier. Try to combine that, move the 7, and then do your division. See what you guys come up with on your own. And then I'm going to go through it anyway, and then class is going to be over soon. Okay, so just try that one for me. It always does it. Something's broken and it doesn't, you have to hold it so it doesn't do that. Okay, so what's the 3p plus 3p? 6p. Then I'm going to bring down the plus 7, bring down the equal, and bring down the negative 17. Okay, so step 1 is done. And then for step 2, we need to get rid of the constant that's on the same side of the letter. So we're going to get rid of the plus 7 by doing what?
Subtract 7.
We're going to subtract 7 from both sides. So we bring down 6p, we bring down that equal sign, and then if you have 17 negatives, 7 more negatives, that's a total of how many negatives? Perfect, negative 24. And again, you can just type that in as negative 17 minus 7. Don't put any extra symbols, just type it in exactly how it looks right there on paper. And then what number am I dividing by? The 6, yep. So you would type this in, negative 24 divided by 6, negative 4. Okay, then if you guys, I'm just going to have you guys take a look at this. Just turn the page over. I just want you to kind of see the next thing that we're going to be working on. So we're still going to be doing multi-step equations, but remember I told you the ones that we just did, none of them had parentheses. So we got to start with the combining like terms step first. But as soon as you start seeing parentheses within an equation, you cannot solve this if these parentheses are still here. So we will have to get rid of those parentheses by doing distributive property. Tomorrow when you guys come in, that's what we're going to be starting with. So do not lose this paper. Just make sure you hang on to it. And then remember, tomorrow we're on a normal schedule. So class tomorrow will run 10:35 to 12. So it'll be almost a full hour and a half.